Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
It is Friday. I messed up too. It is Friday. Today's guests are brought to you by Langley Chrysler. I almost said Monday. They have the vehicle, but I got Langley Chrysler right.
Absolutely.
They have the vehicle for your next summer adventure. Whether you need a Jeep for the beach or a Ram for the fam, you can save up to $12,000 online or on land at LangleyChrysler.com. The Duncan Keith story. There's the Nate Schmidt story.
A lot of stuff going on.
Game 3 of the Stanley Cup final tonight in Montreal. Lightning, of course, up 2-0 on the Habs. Here to talk about it all. NHL Analyst, part of the Bob McCown podcast, John Shannon. How are you, sir?
Great, boys. I tell you what, you've done such a good job. Take the next 2 days off, okay?
Oh,
yes,
John.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
That's,
You're so
3
kind.
and 4 is not a bad thing.
It's not. It's not.
You're so
Just
kind.
Now you know what Johnny Carson was like, eh? Taking the, getting 3 days, just working 3 days a week. That was what it was like in those days, right, Donnie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But every second Friday, I don't know what Johnny Carson went through. I'll tell you that. Payday is what I'm talking about. Does Duncan Keith, and you know the story, John, the story is out there that Duncan Keith wants to play in Western Canada. How much value is there still in Duncan Keith?
I think that's the $64 million question, simply because if you expect him to play at the same level we saw for those 3 Stanley Cups, you're sadly mistaken. But if you put him in the right role with a young defense, and that he can actually act as a strong leader, and then be in reality a 3-4 in my opinion, then I think there is value, and I think that he can teach people how to win, and that's what Duncan Keith is not the biggest guy. He's always had great skill. He's led the Blackhawks in ice time 14 of the last 16 years.
Wow.
Which is phenomenal. But I think you have to measure what you want to get out of a guy that's going to cost you over $5 million a year.
I'm sure, John, you can understand why one of the teams he reportedly wants to go to, 2 choices, one Seattle, the other being Edmonton.
Totally. I can understand both. And quite frankly, in the short term, Seattle makes so much sense. Simply because Ron Francis is working with very little cap restriction right now on the 3rd of July, so that would be one thing. The other aspect of it is that the relationship that Duncan has had with a few people within the Oilers organization. Let's remember, Duncan lives in Penticton, not far from the president of the operation, Kenny Holland, who lives in Vernon. They've had a relationship through Hockey Canada. Bob Nicholson, who's the chairman of the Oilers, lives in Penticton. He has a relationship with Duncan. I think that there's the opportunity to get 2 and 2 equals 4. That said, it's not done. And I think it's far from done, because in this day and age you have to, like the NBA, you have to do the math too, and that's going to be the difficult part.
Hey, John, this is going to be an incredible month. We got the Seattle expansion draft, the NHL draft. You got to qualify players. Then you're going to have free agency. There's so many big names out there: Eichel, Dougie Hamilton, Seth Jones. Do you expect a lot of these big names to move closer to the draft, John, or are we going to see some fireworks well in advance of that?
I think we're going to see a couple of phases, and I think the Victor Arvidsson trade really was the precursor.
Yeah.
David was going to lose Victor Arvidsson in the expansion draft, or at least he thought he was. So we had to go get something for him, and it was important to Nashville was to get something for him that didn't cost them anything. Arvidsson's still a good player. He can help the Kings get over the hump in a, I don't know, would you call the Pacific Division a weak division, Rick?
Yeah, well, some are
the
calling
California
the California teams are not great, John, and can they turn it around quickly?
Well, so if you're Rob Blake, if you can go get a quality player, what's to stop the Kings from being 3 or 4 in the division?
Yeah.
That's what Rob Blake is gambling on by getting rid of 2 picks for Victor Arvidsson. You will see a few other teams who have probably had quiet discussions with Ron Francis about, hey, if we give you this, we give you that, and Ron's asking for high prices in return. But there are teams that have cap space that are prepared to do deals, plus Vegas. Do not rule out what Vegas does between now and the expansion draft, because they don't have to give up a player in the draft, and they could become, even if they go over the cap for the summer, they could become a little bit of a hot spot in order to deal players to improve teams that have too many more than the 7-3-1 or 8-1 scenarios for the expansion draft.
John, people always say to me, what do you expect the Canucks to do this summer? And I always say back, I need them to get rid of some bad contracts, John, for the first time in a long time. Louis Eriksson was paid $1 million signing bonus yesterday. That's it. No more for him. He's got $3 million left. He could be easier to move, John. And then a couple of buyouts. Do you think this could be the first summer they shed some bad salaries?
I would be shocked. Only because the Canucks, like most of the teams in the league, are cash poor right now. There's, the amount of money that came into Vancouver, the amount of money that came into most teams, were dribbles, and there are going to be scenarios where I think ownership is probably going to push, not just the Canucks, but a lot of teams not to pay anything out this summer, in hopes that they can struggle through this year and then try to find and again, to your point, hopefully lose one in the expansion draft, right?
Yeah.
And therefore try to find a way to make things work. But I just, from what I hear from a lot of teams, there's a lot of owners saying they're not prepared to put another penny in right now.
Right.
And they're going to try. The bigger challenge will be getting to the floor, not to the ceiling.
Yeah. Exactly.
John, there are a lot of people who will say to you, okay, fine, the revenues haven't been there the last couple of years, but the owners are getting expansion money. Is that anywhere near coming close to helping out?
I think most teams lost between $50 and $60 million this year, Donnie. Okay. And all the teams that get money, Vegas does not get any money, all the teams that get money get just over $20 million. So, operating costs still existed. And none of these guys, there's very few of them that are in this business to continue to lose money. And I think that there will be pressure to keep costs down, take that $20 to $24 million in expansion dollars, and just salt that away for a rainy day.
We're talking with John Shannon. John, Nate Schmidt, reports out there that he wants out of Vancouver. Those reports were shot down a couple of weeks ago,
by Jim.
Maybe even a month ago, by Jim Benning and others, but they've resurfaced. What's Vancouver's reputation right now as a place to live and play for a National Hockey League player?
Oh, I think it's positive. I really do. I think city as a lifestyle is fantastic. I think that Travis Green is viewed as a positive in all of this. I think that the young players that are on this club, Pettersson, Hughes, once they're re-signed, Demko, I think that points in the right direction. The one thing I would say is, guys, there's a ton of pressure to play in Vancouver, and you know this. This is one of the most critical markets, passionate markets, and perhaps some players don't enjoy that part of it.
Yeah.
It's like playing in Montreal. Either you love it or you hate it. And I think Vancouver and Montreal are the two most passionate markets, maybe in the National Hockey League.
Yep, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Not for everybody. Also, John, we're almost forgetting this. Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final taking place tonight in Montreal. I know you tweeted about this, and it might be kind of obvious, but he's allowed 2 goals on 62 shots. How good has Andrei Vasilevsky been for the Lightning?
spectacular, And if you're a Tampa fan, actually, people tweeted back at me and said he's been like this all year, and I think that's one of the reasons why Tampa's been so consistent. But the one thing I noticed with Vasilevsky more than anything else, and I think I almost want to say it's a Carey Price influence, is that you don't see Vasilevsky making these athletic moves and the crazy moves that you used to see a few years back, because he's in such great position. That's always Carey's great strength, that he's always in such great position, and he, the words efficient with Carey Price have always been there. Right now, Andrei Vasilevsky is obviously more efficient than Carey has been. And what is it? 7 of the 8 goals in this series are all on deflections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the only way you're going to beat these guys. That's the only way you're going to beat these guys. And the 2 goals that beat Vasilevsky are double deflections.
Mm-hmm. Before I let you go, John, you're from Oliver.
I am.
Some tough times right now for the people of the BC interior. I'm sure you send your thoughts and prayers to the people of that area.
I tell you what, when we were kids, we used to brag how hot it was. We used to sit there and say, in those days it was Fahrenheit, we got to 110, we got to 115. But the downside was, that means there was a forest fire coming.
Yeah.
And when you think what the people have gone through in the Fraser Canyon, what people are going through in the Thompson and the North Okanagan, you have to do send your thoughts and prayers to them. And it's one of those days where you yearn for home, but you hope that everybody's okay.
Thanks, John. Well said. Thank you so much. Talk to you next week.
Cheers.